What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Ask Dan Anything. Today we've got a question from my man Brett about relationships. Very simple one. He says, how do you deal with arguments and disagreements in your relationship? Now, this is a good one. This is something I used to struggle with a lot. I used to do it in a very unhelpful way, as in I'd avoid it and tried to make everything nice and pleasant. So that's how I used to deal with it, and all that did was create disconnection and eventually end the relationship and have no boundaries set. And then I see other people dealing with it by exploding at each other and being nasty to each other, even violent or abusive. And that doesn't help too much either. So we're going to look at a third way of dealing with it. The first one to understand, to look at the underlying belief systems is the first step. And there's a belief system that used to really ruin things for me, which was that no conflict equals a good relationship. So if you have a relationship where you don't argue and you don't disagree and don't have any confusion or painful emotions about each other, you think that that's a good thing. I've learned that unequivocally that is a dangerous sign in a relationship. If you go for months or years without having a serious argument, without blowing up occasionally, odds are one of you is lying about how you feel. You're pushing things down. You're building up bitterness and resentment. You're not being truthful with each other, because no two humans can coexist for that amount of time without coming into conflict. So for there to be no conflict, somebody has to be holding back the truth. There's another belief that I see people really destroy relationships with, and that is a conflict must end with a winner. That somebody is right and the other person is wrong. This is a belief I see really destroy people in relationships when they have their conflicts, because then you get contempt and you get one-upmanship and you get narcissism, and that is really unhealthy for relationships as well. So let's assume that those two beliefs are incorrect, that actually conflict or confrontation is good for a relationship in the longer term, even though it's painful to endure, and that nobody needs to win. That for a conflict to be considered healthy for the relationship, you should both come out better off, not just one of you. Now, the key thing here is that there is no better time than now to have a confrontation or a conflict. Now, obviously, there's some logistics, like you might want to get out of the public place and get some private time between yourselves. But delaying, waiting till you feel better, waiting till you're not stressed anymore. I know Brett was talking about this earlier. All that does is disconnect you. All that does is give the person the impression that you deal with things alone and you don't involve them in that, which makes them suspicious. They wonder what you're really thinking. They start to doubt and distrust you. And it also just leaves them alone, like you don't want their help, like you're not important to them, like you don't care about what they think, which of course is going to create a massive conflict later on based on nothing. So don't wait for a better time, because that creates disconnection. The best time is right now. However you feel, whenever you get upset, now's the time. Now, a lot of people avoid this because they don't know how to have a conflict without it blowing up or going pear-shaped, and that's what we'll talk about today. Assume it's going to get worse before it gets better. Assume that going into this thing, knowing that it is going to get more confusing and upsetting and lost and angry, before you find any form of resolution, you're choosing for it to get worse rather than trying to make it better. If you allow that to happen, then you've got a real chance of having a genuine, truthful conflict. Whereas if you're not willing for it to get worse, you're just going to be avoidant, placatory, dominating, overly rational during an emotional situation, and all these other things that only disconnect you and weaken the relationship. So expect a storm, and that you're going to ride through the storm together. And you'll come out the other side when the storm chooses to pass, and not a moment before. Seek to understand rather than to fix. When the two of you have an emotional conflict, understand it has nothing to do with the current moment, with the thing you think it is. You come in and she's left the clothes on the floor again. You're like, fuck it, bro. It's not about the clothes on the floor. It's never about the clothes on the floor. You are bringing your baggage to this relationship just as they are. We all bring our pain and our trauma into our relationships. There is nothing that can't be solved rationally. So as soon as it starts getting irrational and emotional, then it's not really about the thing. It's about what the thing has been a catalyst for you. It's the thing is what you've chosen to focus on and blame for your emotional conflict. So rather than trying to fix the thing, which isn't even a problem, try to understand each other's emotional conflict and heal together. So when you think it's about something, understand that it's not. You've just brought your baggage to this thing. Until you can deal with the clothes on the floor, before you can deal with the clothes on the floor, you guys have to work through your emotional baggage, which has nothing to do with the clothes on the floor. Okay? The clothes on the floor can be sorted rationally. That's not even an argument. The reason you're having an argument about the clothes on the floor is because the fucking Titanic-sized emotional baggage you brought to the clothes on the floor. And that needs to be dealt with first. Understand that. And that will be dealt with by the two of you trying to understand each other, not by the two of you trying to argue about what should be done about the clothes on the floor. Yeah? Take responsibility for everything you think and feel. They are not to blame for a single emotion you've ever had or a single thought that's ever come into your head. Your brain creates those emotions and thoughts, and your past and your upbringing is what creates the way your brain works. Your partner had sweet fuck all to do with any of that, so you can't blame them for it. You can't say, you made me feel, or because of you I think. That is completely inaccurate, dishonest, irresponsible language. You must say, when I saw the clothes on the floor, I felt all my bullshit come up. When you speak like that, they won't take it personally, and when they don't take it personally, you've got a better chance of getting back to a rational conversation once the pain's dealt with. If I say, when you leave the clothes on the floor, it makes me feel, I'm lying. Clothes on the floor don't fucking matter. What matters is this massive, this story that I've bought by myself, that I bought with me. And in the conflict, I'm going to try and share that story with you and hear your story as well. So use I words when you're talking about your pain. I feel this, I think this, I chose to do this, I chose to react this way. And when we talk about solutions later, use the we word. We should do this, we should try that, maybe we could, rather than you, as if it's all their fault. Everything is 50-50, and even if that's not true, it's a helpful frame to have. Every relationship is 50-50, so if you've got a problem with them, it means you're 50% of that problem. And you'll need to do work on yourself too. Look underneath the content. Find the raw emotion and the pain that they're bringing to this thing, and look to delve through that, rather than listening to the words they say, and even the words you say. When they say, you shouldn't leave the clothes on the floor, what they're really saying is, I'm frustrated and angry. I don't know why, but I'm going to blame the clothes. And then when you can hear that, you'll be like, you know what, let's not talk about the clothes. Why are you frustrated and angry? What's going on there? You seemed great at lunch, and now you've lost your mind. What's happened? What's really happened? And I like the word really here. You can say, what are you really upset about? And it'll help them ask, what am I really upset about? And you can do the same for yourself. You're like, God damn, the clothes on the floor. And you go, wait, what am I really upset about? It's probably not the clothes. Clothes on the floor, they don't even touch me. I'm unharmed by them. Life continues. But the story I tell myself is that they disrespect me when they put the clothes on the floor like that. So carrying on from that, it's important that no changes or solutions are explored until you guys have talked about the real reasons that you're upset. Okay? And you're just talking about them, you're not trying to fix them. In terms of practical ways of talking, let them finish. You're going to feel a need to interrupt because your desire to win is going to try and crush any of their arguments, or you're going to think that what they're saying is stupid or irrational or whatever, having all these blaming, judgmental thoughts. Just let them finish. They can't talk forever, so let them finish the whole thing. Now, if you're finding that they're overwhelming you, especially if they're repeating themselves or whatever, you can say, look, stop, I need some time to digest this. Let's start with the first thing you said, so say that again, and we'll deal with these things one at a time. You can do that, but interrupting, trying to talk over them, trying to dominate them with words, this is only going to spark up their resistance, which is unhelpful to an exploratory discussion. It might be helpful to a debate where you're trying to win something, but this is your partner. Why would you want them to lose? Why would you want to beat them? What kind of partnership is that? Partnership is you both come out on top, yeah? And that's going to be helped by you listening to them. And of course, setting boundaries about them listening to you. You can say, wait, you had your turn. Hear me out, and then I'll give you a chance to respond. You can say that. Hold your boundaries. Responsibility needs to go both ways. They need to take responsibility for how they feel and think. You need to take responsibility how you feel and think. And then once you've dived through all of that, gone through the worst of it and come out the other side, then you go, right, do we actually care about the clothes on the floor? Do we actually need to discuss that? Or have we just found out something more about ourselves that this has triggered off? Explore each other, take responsibility, treat the person like you actually fucking love them rather than your enemy, and then you'll be able to use conflicts to grow your connection rather than abandon each other and build up resentment. I hope that helps. I've got other videos on the techniques of reflective listening and expressing yourself clearly. You can search through the YouTube channel for things like that. And I'll see you guys all next time. Make sure to send your questions through to dan@brojo.co.nz and subscribe to the channel. Cheers.